Hello and welcome back to Puck on the Parkway, talking New Jersey Devils hockey all season long. I'm James Burley, joined by Daniel Rebane, and the reason why I'm speeding through this intro is because we got to get this season over and done with. It's time to draw the curtains and say goodnight on the 2024 New Jersey Devils. It's been a raucous ride of disappointment throughout this season, and we're going to be talking about most of it. Most recently, of course, in the Hudson River rivalry, there was sparks flying as soon as the puck dropped, but at the end of the day, Rangers 4, Devils 3, no points at Madison Square Garden. But first and foremost, it's been a couple weeks, Daniel. How you doing, my friend?
I mean, you kind of laid it out, man. Let's get this season over with. We had so much promise coming into the season. If you want to go look back at our first episode of the season, we were so high in this team.
We were buzzing
And
about this team.
and like everything is just collapsed on its face. Everything that could go wrong went wrong. Let's just get it over with. Personally, if we just want to jump in to this Rangers Devils fight brawl off the face off, that was my win to end the season. I'm pretty much done with the last six games. Anything can happen. You take it away with that brawl, man.
Yeah, I mean, it was very reminiscent of something that happened 12 years ago in the 2012 season between, I think, the three fighters for the Devils were Cam Jansen, um,
Eric Bolton.
Eric Bolton, and Ryan Carter
Hmm.
against Stu Bickle, who's a defenseman that came up to take the face off. Mike Rupp, who scored famous Stanley Cup clinching goal for the Devils back in 2003. And I want to say Brandon Prust was the other fighter, but I'm not 100% sure about that.
Yeah, I think
Okay.
so.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean that's a squad of three guys you expect to get into fights. But what we got was a full line brawl of yeah, it was fourth line on fourth line, and you wanted and expected and got Rempe versus McDermott. But we did not expect John Marino going up to challenge Keandre Miller, who's, about four times his size.
Hmm.
I didn't expect to see the whole team get ejected as well. Eight guys getting ejected as, secondaries, third man in type penalties and gone for the entire game. That was spectacular. Look, the whole fucking country's talking about this. It's one of the greatest things that I've seen live in terms of hockey. But at the end of the day, it is just a little bow wrapped on an awful season for the Devils. And yeah, is this their crowning achievement then that they got into this massive line brawl with the Rangers as retribution for Rempe's hit on Bastian and not and Truba's hit on Bastian as well, and not trying to, you know not Rempe not answering the bell last time against McDermott. I mean, I feel like it's a tiny win maybe, but if we're counting this as a win, man, we are grasping at straws and it's pretty lame.
I mean, there's nothing right that was going on. I mean, for a whole month, we were looking forward to Rempe versus McDermott. We thought we'd get it the first time, the first game in Madison Square Garden. We
Yeah.
didn't. He didn't want to fight Rempe. Matt Rempe didn't want to fight. Cowardice, in my opinion. He didn't want to fight him, and then goes out and elbows Jonas Siegenthaler in the head the same game, and then still doesn't want to fight, and then waves to the crowd goodbye. This was just a whole lead up. I was looking forward to this game. I knew this fight was going to happen, but as you said, we did not expect the whole line brawl. And I feel like if they did, other players would have been on the ice. Shout out to John Marino for even thinking about fighting. I guess obviously adrenaline is pumping. Um, you probably don't want him fighting a guy who's 6'5", 210 when you're 6'1", 180. I mean, it's to be
Yeah,
fair, if you
it's
if you actually watched the fight, nobody landed a punch. They kind of just swung each other down, and then obviously Marino ended up on the ground, and then you have that classic picture of Miller holding him down, but like he didn't really land a punch. You know, his comments at the next day were a little far fetched as well. I don't
yeah.
know. Maybe Bastion comes back next year and gets some retribution there against Miller.
Mhm.
I would love to see that, but yeah, shout out to all the boys stepping up, fighting, even though they got ejected. This was the first time that I've seen that the team kind of rallied around each other and stepped up for one another, and I'm kind of proud that they finally did that. Obviously, there's only six games left, so nothing really left to fight for, but at least they weren't letting this go. They wanted retribution and they got it. And shout out to Curtis McDermott because he finally made that coward Matt Rempe bleed. So Get out of
Well,
here, man. Get out of here. I hate Matt Rempe, man. What a scumbag. I hate that guy.
well, after the game, props to both McDermott and Rempe. McDermott actually said, "I have respect for the guy now. That's the most experienced fighter Rempe's fought at to this point. Maybe you can make a case for Delorier, if not
Yeah.
for McDermott. And I mean, did he actually go with Reeves for a very long time? I think that fight was hardly even a fight if it even happened.
Yeah.
Um, so credit to him. McDermott said this guy, actually hung with me. I have to give him his props. I think you tweeted this out. You wish Brendan Smith was on the ice. I do too. That would have been way
Yeah.
more fun if that
I
guy
think
was out
I
there.
think I think Brendan Smith also said like if he knew that there was going to be other fights,
Yeah,
he would have loved to be on the ice. But you know what?
absolutely.
That was obviously not the plan because if that's the plan, John Marino's not in the ice.
Yeah,
So
I'll tell you what though, the credit to the players for sticking out as long as they did, especially the defensemen. Only four defensemen for 60 minutes. That's
yeah,
ridiculous. That's
yeah.
youth hockey level stuff that you should never ask a professional workload, especially on a back-to-back. These guys played in the night before and had to play
Yep.
30, like Brendan Smith had averages 15 minutes of ice time this season. He had to play 30. He was past
Uh,
22 at like the second period. It's
yeah.
crazy. But the fact that they stuck in with this good of a team for that long, I have to give them some credit. But then I remind myself who this team is on paper, and I read the names off the list, and I'm thinking these guys should be able to hang with the Rangers on any nightly basis. There's a reason they beat them in the playoffs last year. They were better than them last year. So that's again just bringing me back down into some disappointment. But I will say I did see some hockey that I really, really liked from the Devils in that second period, of course, where they actually like rallied back and went after it. Dawson Mercer, standing up uh, for Brendan Smith, taking that big hit and getting into that
Mm-hmm.
fight. I
Yep.
didn't know that Mercer had that in him. He's
And
clearly got that character, and
he's a dog for a reason,
yeah,
man.
he's a dog for a reason. Yeah, absolutely. And that was great to see. I'm very happy that happened. Something that, that's a bit of momentum that they can build off of there. It didn't end their way. I know it ended with Brendan Smith in the penalty box like he often is, but
Yeah.
that was not a hook. That was such a
No.
ridiculous call.
Especially
I
after what they were letting go the whole game,
Yeah,
they
yeah.
give that,
It
it is what it
right.
is.
Yeah, if they had been calling similar penalties to that prior, maybe I wouldn't be as upset about that. But the fact of the matter is the better team won on the night, 41 shots to the Devils 20. It should have gone this way, even though the Devils did fight back in that second period. Bratt's assist to Heishier,
Unreal.
excellent. They had three
Yep.
cross ice pass goals that like looked like they really wanted to go after him. And it's some it kind of makes me upset because it's like, where was this fight so many games earlier this season? Uh
That's just what it's been. Like
yeah.
where's the fight? Like obviously the season is pretty much over. And why didn't you
Hmm.
have this a couple of months ago?
Yeah.
Obviously, I mean if you want to get into it, I mean goaltending's just been a big help
Yeah.
since the trade deadline, bringing in
Yeah.
Jake Allen and Capo Kakinen. But
Who on paper aren't that much better than Vitek Vanacek to be fair. I think that V maybe just had a really bad season for his own standards, and that was a big uh inhibitor for the Devils' success. And then you couple that with Akira Schmid, who has the tools to be a top level NHL caliber goaltender, but with the advanced workload of a struggling Vanacek in front of him as the 1A to him becoming a 1B sort of, he just couldn't handle that workload, and it became an issue. And that issue continued when he went down to the AHL to start when Nico Dawes came up. So it was a lot of tricky stuff in goaltending for the Devils this year. We knew that to this point. I didn't expect the turnaround to be this dramatic with Kakinen and Allen, who to their credit, have been great. I'm still not very high on either one of them. I know Jake Allen's probably going to stick around as a backup for the couple years to come. I know
yeah, for
Fitzgerald has
next
made it
year, yep.
made it very clear he wants to go out and spend big on a goaltender this summer. I think a lot of Devils fans will be happy about that. But then again, I look back at this Devils Rangers game and I think, man, where was this fight earlier this season? I know it's the Rangers. Always want to get up against your biggest rival. I love these games. I circle these games on the calendar once the schedule drops at the beginning of the season. And it's nice to know that the players do that sometimes too, even in a season where they've struggled and haven't really stood up for themselves too much. They showed some heart in this one. What I will say that always bothers me is a lot of the fans on Twitter, and I know Twitter's not real life, but a lot of fans were like, "Hey, I hope we get shut out 10-0 by the Rangers today because then we get to prove to Fitz or that we're a bad team, like or we deserve to lose. Like that may be your opinion, and sure, we may deserve to lose. We deserved to lose in that game last night for sure. The Rangers are a better team and they played better. But you wake up in the morning and you think, I want to watch my team lose to their biggest rival. I can never sympathize with that. I can never get on board with that. That's not being a fan. That is being, you just want to be proven right, which is not how you're supposed to have this sort of relationship with a team. And I don't know, that just rubbed me the wrong way that a lot of Devils fans were turning to that mindset.
Yeah, that's just a loser mentality. Obviously, nothing's really gone right this year. Fans are probably just hoping that we just keep losing to get a better, draft slot, hopefully win the lottery, get Celebrini. But hey, man, like winning matters even in a losing season. Like the littlest battles that you win could turn into a big season next year. Like we
Yeah.
saw that 2 years ago when they were coming off a terrible season. They still even I think they won their last game of that season, and then they won the draft lottery to get second overall. Like you don't have to always lose. Like winning always brings positivity to an organization. And you know what? Finally, they showed some fight. There's a reason that this is one of the best rivalries in all of hockey, up there with the Battle of Alberta, Boston, Montreal, and other rivalries in the sport. I mean, I just love these games. You always got like these are the one game. This and the Philly games, I'm just like they can win these games, lose everything else in like a losing season, and I'll be fine. So
Yeah.
sucks that we got swept. Shout out to the Rangers. They've been the better team this year. Hopefully they lose in the first round. That's about it. So that's all I'll be rooting for in the playoffs. Once they're
Whoever's playing
eliminated,
the
yeah,
Rangers.
once they're eliminated, then I can relax.
Yeah.
So
I don't know about you, and this has been, this has been true for me in just about every sport that I follow. Once my team is out, I find it very difficult to then watch and care about the playoffs. Like there
I'm
have
the
been times
opposite. I can, I
know
so yeah.
you're a massive, you love the game. I love the game too, but like I can't be bothered to watch the Stanley Cup final if it's got the Tampa Bay Lightning in it again. You know what I mean? I just it just makes feels way more like I'm a part of it when the Devils are involved, and it really stinks that they're not going to be there this year when we know that they probably should be. But now that we've talked about the bad, let's talk about a little bit of the good. We mentioned the goaltending situation changing. Let's keep up the good vibes here. In Timo Meyer's last 20 games, he's got 26 points and +2, which if you look at the Devils' goal scoring record across that game, being in the positive is actually nuts,
Yeah.
especially for a top end forward because those guys get trapped in their zone oh so many times a game. 15 goals and 11 assists. He's killing it. And this is a guy who's getting a lot of criticism for, not hitting the ground running this season, but it was very clear that he was not only playing through injuries and then had to go out with an injury for some time, but that he was being misused by Lindy Ruff for, I would argue, a large portion of the season, playing on the left wing without guys who could match his speed on through the center of the ice. And therefore, he wasn't getting the puck in good areas. He wasn't getting net front. He wasn't getting second chance opportunities like he is now. But this guy can clean it up in front of the net. He can skate it through the neutral zone and could do a lot of things if given the keys. I think that Travis Green has opened up a new part of his game. But even before that, Timo was really starting to hit his stride. And that's a great thing.
Yeah, I think since Lindy's left, I think we all are seeing what we envisioned Timo to be. He's playing on the top line. He's mostly playing right wing, sometimes still on the left. He's playing power play one. Shocker, he's scoring on the power play.
Yeah.
Who could have guessed? You put him on the right side of the power play and he snipes. Shocker. I couldn't believe it. But yeah, this is what we expected. Injuries have hurt him all season. And it was kind of a coincidence that he finally started hitting his stride once Lindy left, but I think that's when he fully started feeling his game 100% again. And maybe Lindy leaving helped, gave him some confidence that he was on first line and first power play again. But I think it was the injuries that were really hurting him big time this year. He was injured multiple times, multiple different areas on his body. He had
Yeah.
a lower one, he had a mid body one, whatever that is. So Glad he's healthy again, and I'm hoping he can just take this into the World Championships. When obviously he'll probably go play with Switzerland, most likely. And then take it into 2024 in the fall. So I'm excited for Timo next season in year two.
Yeah, I think that the way he's ending this season should bode well for the way he starts next year, which had he started 23, 24 in a better place, maybe if he was more healthy, I think the fans' perception of him would be a lot different. But now he's going to have a fresh start at the beginning of next season. Not going to have to worry about performing in the playoffs this year because they ain't going to the playoffs. Um, so before we get into some of the next things, we're going to talk about stuff that's going on off the ice for the Devils because there is a bit of it. I want to ask you now that we mentioned this is actually a bit of a curveball because it's not on the docket for us, but because you mentioned Lindy Ruff leaving and the assumption of the head coaching role for Travis Green, how would you rate Travis Green's job? Uh, uh, a letter grade so far, if there's even enough time to give him a letter grade.
I was gonna try to hold off until our final episode for of the regular season for this, but
Fair,
so
fair,
I mean
fair.
to be fair, I'll give it a later grade of what I probably would give him at the end of the season, and it's
Uh-huh.
a C plus. Obviously, not much of a runway. Like actually, there still was in retrospect. If you look at the standings, this team still has, even to this day, a chance to get in the playoffs, even though it's very slim. But when
Hmm.
he took over, if they won certain games, they'd be comfortably in a playoff spot right now.
Hmm.
So now is that on him? Is that on the players? Some things you're still questioning, like decisions, lineup decisions, certain tactics on the ice. And but what you couldn't really expect too many of those to change since it's mid-season. Obviously, it's going to be a bit harder, and they're still pushing for a playoff spot. So you want to kind of keep that cohesion. Um, the teams played, obviously they've played better under him personally.
Yeah, they have.
Goaltending's been better. Obviously, that's been a big thing.
Yeah,
Um,
not sure if he can get a lot of credit for that.
yeah, that again, yeah, that I didn't really want to bring that up. I just wanted to say
Fair.
that goaltending was playing better because there's two
It's
new
true. It's
goalies.
true.
But yeah, I'd say probably a C plus. I don't know how much effect he's had on the team. He's had a bit, but I don't think he can take full credit. So if you're asking me, do I want him back next year? Probably not.
Hmm.
I hope they go out there and see the full range of coaches that they could get after certain coaches may get fired, and then the current available coaches. So we'll
Yeah.
see what happens. Fitz has this is one of Fitz's big offseason gets as a coach, along with a superstar goalie. Those are the two big gets. So it's up to him. This is probably going to be his last coach that he hires. If he has to fire another one, then he's probably gone. So
He's probably gone himself. Yeah.
this is gonna be the big get for him. So what
Yeah.
about you? What's your letter grade?
I'm gonna go similarly. I'm gonna go C flat, like just C plain up. Maybe I could give him a C plus if I felt like it, but
Yeah,
for the sake of variety, I'll give him a C. I just haven't seen like this team has until the second period and I guess the line brawl last night. I hadn't seen that, that change in identity, that spark, like let's fight
yeah,
for something, which is normally what you associate with bringing in a new coach. And for that reason, I can't say he's done a great job. Although the team has looked a little bit better, the goaltending, like you mentioned, has been better. So I can't take anything away from him. Therefore, I'm going to give him a bang average grade. And I think he might even be in the running for the coach next year as well. I mean, you don't think
let's
so?
not. No, I no, he probably is, but
Yeah.
let's not.
I'm not
Please
saying
don't do
I'm not
that.
saying they should. I'm just saying, he's been the main guy behind a bench before, thinking back to
Yeah.
Vancouver. So he's
Another
gonna.
close relationship between the two.
Yes, this is true.
All I'm saying is, if Fitz wants to, attach himself to Travis Green and it doesn't work out, then he kind of deserves to get fired. That's all I'll say
Yeah,
about that.
yeah. I think you're absolutely right. This is make or break time for Tom Fitzgerald as a GM, and I mean, I know he's done a lot of really really good things, but this past season has is going to be a blemish on his record if the Devils can turn it around and get back to the playoffs and being a successful team. Well, that is that. Let's talk a little bit about some of the prospects going on. I want to ask you about this new signing straight out of the NCAA. Dyaln Wendt of Western Michigan, who had actually a monster season, really. They went to the tournament, lost in the first round to Michigan State, and now he's got an NHL contract. What can you tell me about this kid, and should we expect big things from him in Jersey?
Yeah, so I wrote a couple of notes about some of these guys that we'll talk about soon. But yeah, Dylan Wendt, right winger, Western Michigan, right-handed shot. Big year this year. This was his big jump year, his junior year at Western Michigan. Sophomore year, he had like about 20 points. Freshman year, played a bunch, didn't produce much, but this year was the big year. And Western Michigan's kind of known for this. They like to produce a bunch of undrafted free agents. They've sent a couple of guys to the AHL last year, the last 2 years, a couple getting entry level deals, and Wentz the latest one. He had 23 goals, right? 23 goals, yep. And 21 assists for 44 points in 38 games, over a point a game. He's a big power play guy in front of the net. So big front in the slot presence. And we'll see. Obviously, his contract will start next year for the next 2 years, and he'll spend the rest of the year in the AHL with Utica as they're pushing to make a playoff spot. So watch out for that name, Dylan Wendt. And actually, he was the seventh ranked undrafted free agent this season by Elite Prospects. So we'll see what he does. Definitely potential there. So that's a good get for them.
Yeah, and he's spending the entire season in Utica on a PTO, or sorry, an ATO actually. It's going to be an amateur tryout for the rest of the season. So obviously not going to see him in the red and black in New Jersey for a while, if at all. But that's where he's going to be for the time being. Getting NCAA draft picks in the transfer portal as well. That's just to put it out there. Who else around the globe, part of the Devil's Faithful, do you want to talk about, Dan? Because Dylan Went's not the only one that's moving the needle.
Yeah, first, actually, I just want to ask you about Colin Graff, the number one undrafted
Okay,
free agent. He signed with San Jose, which was a total
that's
curveball out of
pretty
nowhere
shocking. Yeah.
because there was rumors that he was going to be on the East Coast. So obviously, Devils fans were kind of hoping, grasping the straws, but to see him sign in San Jose, I mean, that was a total curveball. Obviously, a big perk for him is that he'll be on the San Jose Sharks the rest of the season, burning a year of his entry level deal. What did you think about that signing?
Well, to me, that says the only team that was going to put him on their NHL active roster probably would have been the San Jose Sharks, or maybe another team that had absolutely nothing to lose. So if he was really willing to get NHL experience at the game level that quickly, then the move makes sense. But in terms of setting yourself up to having a good career, that move does not make sense because it's the San Jose Sharks and they're just awful, unfortunately. So I mean, I have to say, kind of stinks for Devils fans that this guy goes off the board when it seems like the Devils really still have that, as bad as they were this year, still have clearly made steps towards building to something and having a path to success. Unlike, I would say, the San Jose Sharks, who are at the very, very early stage of a rebuilding phase. But yeah, if the goal for Graf was to get NHL minutes as quickly as possible, even burning a year of eligibility on your entry level deal, then I guess go ahead and do it. It's a head scratcher though. I think that has to be the only reason it ever would have gone out this way.
I'll say this: if San Jose ends up winning the draft lottery and they get Celebrini, that's a good
That's actually
step.
some amazing business.
Those are some good building blocks. Obviously,
Yeah.
we know Mike Greer out there, the GM.
Hmm.
He went to BU, so he knows that region up there. So good on Mike Greer building San Jose. Obviously, it's going to be a long build for them. The
Well,
only
yeah.
thing, the only thing I'll say on another college free agent is if you want to keep watching Michigan, watch out for TJ Hughes. He's a center. He's probably before Graf signed, he was probably my number one guy I wanted to sign. He's a two-way
Hmm.
center. He's 22, I believe he's 22, but he would fit this team so good for the bottom six. So once they're
Just
finally done with the season, I'm hoping they go after him hard.
Just another Hughes to add to the
Yeah.
locker room too.
Not
Um,
unrelated, by the way, but
unrelated,
it
yes.
would be hilarious if we still had three Hugheses on the roster.
That
That's
would
just
that would
funny.
be that would be pretty spectacular, honestly. Of course, Michigan are still in the Frozen Four. They play BC. I want to say that game is next
I think it's Saturday.
Thursday.
No, it's Saturday. This
It's
Saturday.
Saturday.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, then I stand corrected on that. But and then and the other end of the bracket, it's BU Denver for anybody trying to pay attention and keep up with college hockey going on right now.
And actually,
Um,
speaking of Denver, you brought up the transfer portal. The Devils actually had two guys go in the portal,
right.
Samu Salmonen and Victor Hertog. Salmonen from UConn actually is rumored to go to Denver. If people remember, when he was drafted, he spent another year in Finland, played junior, so he could come over and play college hockey. He was actually committed to Denver,
Mhm.
but he had to decommit just before the season due to I believe it was he was unable to like register for classes in time or something administrative related. So he had to actually commit to UConn. Hasn't really worked out for him. So if he actually goes to Denver, Denver's in the Frozen Four. That's a great place for him. He'll have two more years of eligibility in college hockey, and hopefully has a rebound season because he only had 34 points and I believe 60 something ish games, half a point a game player. Kind of want more production out of him. So hopefully we see that at Denver next year. And then Hertog, big season last year at Michigan State. Played 34 games
Mhm.
as on the third pair. This season he was kind of relegated to the seventh D role, and then for the second half of the season didn't even play. So hopefully he goes somewhere, gets more playing time. He's a big defenseman, 6'6" right-handed defenseman. So just wanted to say that those guys are in the transfer portal.
Yeah. Uh, Keeping big defensemen. I mean, look, with the injuries the Devils had on the blue line this year, protect our young defensemen, please. We might need more of them. Even as young as this decor is at the moment, couldn't hurt to keep building that pipeline up. So
It's all about
uh,
depth.
it's all about depth, and at a lot of points this season, really felt like the Devils didn't have enough of it. So that's a good update as it comes to college prospects. Is there anybody else overseas you wanted to talk about before we move on and talk about the playoff outlook the Devils might have this year?
Yeah, we'll just talk about playoffs in the junior ranks and in Europe. The only one over in Europe that made the playoffs was Arseny Griciuk with SK St. Petersburg. They made it to the second round, but ultimately lost in 5 games in the quarterfinals. He ended up putting 6 points up in 10 games, 4 goals, 2 assists. Decent playoff showing. He'll have one more year before he can before his contract is up with SKA and be able to sign his entry level deal with New Jersey. So one more year, folks, and we'll have our Lord and Savior Arseny Griciuk. Hopefully, he could play on Jack Hughes's line.
I was gonna say,
That would be a great connection between the two. So
just have him wait on the other end of the ice on the power play
yeah,
and just get
one
open,
timers, baby.
unleash that
Um,
thing.
And then
Yeah.
now we'll go to the Canadian Hockey League. Cam Squires, big playoff so far. He has 11 points in 4 games. I've been saying it this whole season. He's starting to look like a Dawson Mercer clone to me. I don't know if he's got the high level ceiling of playing in the top six type of ceiling that Dawson Mercer might have had. Not that Dawson might be in the middle six, but he does the same things that I've seen Dawson do with the Devils. He loves to drive the net. He's good on the PK. He's on the power play. He's playing first line. He's been assistant captain this year as an 18-year-old. He won't turn 19 until the summer. So this is looking like a decent get for Fitz in the fourth round from this past season's draft. So keep an eye on him. 11 points in 4 games. Over to the WHL, we got Josh Philman. People know him. He was in
Hmm.
Utica at the end last season, scored his first professional goal and went back. He's got 4 points in 4 games over in the West. They swept their first round series, so they're just waiting on to start their second round series. What do you have? He had 3 goals and 1 assist. A bit of a down year points wise for Josh Philman. You probably would have wanted him to score more than he did. He turned more into a playmaker this year. So maybe that helps him out. Obviously, he's grown a lot since he was drafted. I believe he's 6'3" now, maybe even 6'4". He's starting to put on some more muscle to grow into his body. So next year will be his first full pro season that he's already on his ELC. That will start next year. He'll be with Utica next year. So look out for him. Mikel Deity, I think I said that right. He is the new guy, if you remember.
Hmm.
He was another undrafted free agent, but this time from the QMJHL with Drummondville. A big defenseman, right-handed shot. Actually plays on the left side for Drummondville, so that's a wrinkle. Versatility right there, so that's good for him. He had 2 points
Hmm.
in their first round sweep as well. Swept them. They were the number one team in their conference in the Q, so look out for him. And then we already touched on the Michigan guys. Seamus Casey actually got injured in that first round matchup against North Dakota. Um, all good, relax. He's going to be 100% for the Frozen Four, so that's good news. Coach Norado said that for Michigan, and in the rematch against Michigan State in to get to the Frozen Four, unlikely hero stepped up. Ethan Edwards stepped up in a big way. He tied the game in the first period, 1-1. I believe it was in the first, might have been the second, but he tied it up with a 1T. Beautiful shot from Ethan Edwards, who, if you watch Michigan like I do, because I'm a Michigan fan, he loves to step up in the play. Like you might think he's like more of a two-way forward, but he loves to step up in the play whenever he can. He joined in a 2-on-2 rush, made it a 3-on-2 one-timer past the goalkeeper. And then the last two goals of the game to make it 3-2 and 4-2, got assists on them, and Michigan's on to the Frozen Four. So that's your prospect roundup for the playoffs. And Michigan, let's go Michigan, let's go blue, let's bring home a national title, and maybe we'll see Seamus Casey turn pro after that.
I think that is, I mean, the writing's on the walls for Casey going pro. I won't jinx anything for your Michigan Blue, your Wolverines. I'm not gonna say anything one way or the other there. But thank you very much, Daniel, for getting us up to speed with some of our youngsters, both
Yep.
in juniors and abroad, and in the NCAA ranks as well. So let's wrap this episode up real quick. We're gonna have another one before season's end, or at season's end, if you will, and we're going to look back on it probably negatively for the most 98% of that episode, which is fine. That's
Yeah.
what happened. That's what
It
they've
is what it is. It
forced us
is what it
to
is.
do.
Yeah.
But for now, with 6 games left, and I guess what, 6 points to catch up to Detroit in the second wild card, is it?
Yeah.
Does this team have a chance? Do they do it? If they do it, what does that look like in the playoffs then? And what do we think about these last 6 games? Is it time to just maybe say, all right, let's take our shot at the lottery? I think they're the eighth worst team in points right now.
I mean, 6 games, there's a slim chance to get in. You'd have to probably win all 6 games. You'd have to win out and hope you get help other places. It's depressing that we're at this point, but I mean, if you're the players, you got to go out there and try to win every game that you can. It's not on you to get a better draft slot for this team. You're still fighting for places next year. Like some of these players are still fighting to be on the team next year. They could be there's certain players that could be traded in the off season. Just go out there and make us proud that you're wearing that Devils uniform, man. Just go out there, try your hardest, show that fight that you showed against the Rangers these last 6 games, and you know what? Maybe something magical happens. Maybe they get in the playoffs, and then you never know. But if you're asking me, do they make it in? I'm gonna say no. Um,
No,
and you know what? Maybe that's a good thing that they don't make it. Maybe them not making the playoffs makes them go home this offseason and be like, you know what? We got that one. We got that taste. We got that taste. We beat the Rangers that one year. We went to the second round. And then we came back and we fell flat on our face. We don't want that ever again. And maybe that they come back stronger than ever. I pointed it out last pod. Vegas missed the playoffs the year before they won the Stanley Cup.
Hmm.
Maybe that could be the Devils. I don't
Yeah.
know, but we got to look for positives somewhere, right?
Well, as we look for positives, I have to clarify the Islanders currently hold the second wild card spot at 83 points. The Devils are actually seven back with 6 games remaining. There's no way that they make the playoffs. I'm just gonna a reality check. Like, yeah, like they could win. Yeah, theoretically speaking, they could win 6 games, and the Islanders could lose six, and the Capitals could lose
To be
five.
fair, the Rangers play the Islanders twice,
I
so
see,
that
but
could
like
help.
now I have to root for the Rangers, and I refuse to do that. So it'd be better off if we just take this season off for the rest of the way.
Yeah,
That's not obviously not true. I'm joking there, but it's not gonna go their way, and for good measure, this team was not good enough. They don't deserve to be in the playoffs, and if they were to go into the playoffs and get would be the Rangers in the first round most likely, who are probably going to get the President's Trophy. I don't think we win more than one game in a 7 game series against the Rangers. If we're lucky, we get to 5 games. So we better save ourselves the embarrassment, and maybe something good happens at the draft lottery. I hate rooting for the draft lottery. It's anti-hockey in my opinion to want to be worse so you get a better player for next year, but that's just the way things go. um Otherwise, this would have been the year for the Devils to have been, like if I'm thinking of the Devils from like 5-ish years ago, the Taylor Hall Devils
oh man.
before his insane season in 2017-18, where they were always like a bubble team where like they could have, if they got 3 or 4 more points, they would have been a playoff team. This would have
Mhm.
been the year where that team would have made the playoffs. The
Oh yeah,
Metropolitan Division is so open. How are the Devils not a playoff team? It's shocking. How bad does goaltending have to be? How bad are injuries for this team not to be ahead of the 83-point Philadelphia Flyers, the 83-point Islanders, let alone the 82 and 81-point Capitals and Penguins, respectively? So I digress. It's been an awful year that's going to end in disappointment, and
yeah.
hopefully that they can rise from the ashes again in 2024-25. But yeah, that's all I had for this episode, Daniel. Anything else you wanna wrap up on?
Yeah, I just wanted to actually touch on that point that you said that when the Devils aren't in the playoffs, you kind of are turned off by the playoffs.
Yeah.
I'm the exact opposite.
Hmm.
I think it's like been like the past half decade.
Yeah.
I think them missing like the playoffs every year, I was always like, you know what? Why am I like not excited for the playoffs? Playoff hockey is the best playoffs in all of
It
sports.
is. This is
Like,
true.
and to be fair, being a neutral kind of helps me in the playoffs because like
Yeah.
I don't have to stress about the Devils losing. Like it sucked last year watching the Devils play the Rangers in 7 games. Like knowing that going into game 7, the Devils could lose to the Rangers, that sucked.
Yeah.
Obviously, it turned out great for us, but I don't know, the stress of your team being in the playoffs and having to watch it day in and day out, it takes a toll on our bodies. We're just fans at the end of the day, so being a neutral, I'll be sports betting on some of these games. That kind of helps out too.
Hmm.
Um, but I have fun during this time, even with the Devils out of the playoffs. I just like playoff hockey. I just love watching hockey. So I can't wait till the playoffs. A lot of intriguing matchups early on, so that's going to be fun
Yeah.
to watch.
That is one thing I will say about the playoff format. Um, is it meritocratic? No, you have two big
Still,
teams.
I still want them to bring back 1 through 8, though. I still
Yes,
want them to do
yes,
that.
yes. This and that's where I'll wrap up this episode, because in no world should the Avalanche have to play the Jets or in the
Yep.
first round, and the Oilers,
Ridiculous.
the Oilers Knights. Like there should be a little bit more variety in terms of
hmm
who the. It's not the Central Division's fault that those three teams are arguably three of the best teams in the West. So I digress there, but it does make for some tasty matchups. You're absolutely right. And there is nothing like playoff hockey. Even though the Devils won't be there this year, there is nothing like playoff hockey. Daniel, thank you so much for joining me today. I've been James Burley. This has been Puck on the Pike. We thank you guys so much for listening, and we will see you guys next time.
See you next time.